In Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world, the symbol of the lighted flame in a chalice unites members in worship and symbolizes our faith in action. It represents the warmth of community and the flame of hope. The flaming chalice, like our faith, stands open to receive new truths that passed the tests of reason, justice, and compassion. Please join me in reading the chalice lighting words. If ever there were a time for a candle in the darkness, this would be it. Using a spark of hope, kindle the flame of love, ignite the light of peace, and feed the flame of justice.
Good morning. My name is Erica Contreras, and for our call to worship this morning, we have a letter written by the musician Nick Cave. He responds to questions from his fans on a website, The Red Hand Files, where he received the following question. Following the last few years, I'm feeling empty and more cynical than ever. I'm losing faith in other people, and I'm scared to pass these feelings to my little son. Do you still believe in us, human beings? Signed, Valerio. Nick Cave replied, Dear Valerio, you are right to be worried about your growing feelings of cynicism, and you need to take action to protect yourself and those around you, especially your child. Cynicism is not a neutral position, and although it asks almost nothing of us, it is highly infectious and unbelievably destructive. In my view, it is the most common and easy of evils. I know this because much of my early life was spent holding the world and the people in it in contempt. It was a position both seductive and indulgent. The truth is, I was young and had no idea what was coming down the line. I lacked the knowledge, the foresight, and self-awareness. I just didn't know. It took a devastation to teach me the preciousness of life and the essential goodness of people. It took a devastation to reveal the precariousness of the world, of its very soul, to understand that it was crying out for help. It took a devastation to understand the idea of mortal value, and it took a devastation to find hope. Unlike cynicism, hopefulness is hard-earned, makes demands upon us, and can often feel like the most indefensible and lonely place on earth. Hopefulness is not a neutral position either. It is adversarial. It is the warrior emotion that can lay waste to cynicism. Each redemptive or loving act, as small as you like, Valerio, such as reading to your little boy, or showing him a thing you love, or singing him a song, or putting on his shoes, keeps the devil down in the hole. It says the world and its inhabitants have value and are worth defending. It says the world is worth believing in. In time, we come to find that it is so. Love, Nick.
You see, I've got kind of obsessed with this song. I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. I kept singing those words to myself, and it's just a song. It gets a hook in you. And this is I don't know how I think I sang this song back in 2016. Maybe it's from 10 years before that. And over the last few months, I was looking through some music, trying to find something for the choir to sing, and I found this. Unfortunately, the choir, we didn't have time to put this together because quick pitch, choir Sunday coming June 29th. It's gonna be great. You'll wanna be here. All right, but I am willing. The song, a sort of an obsession. There's pain in my family, there's panic across the country. And so, what should our response be this morning? Despair, fear, panic, definitely panic. You'll all forgive me a little panic. Why do these words keep running through my head? I could, of course, just say, well, all of this, and you would know what I mean, right? I'm usually guilty of writing the text and I go, oh, we are worried about all of this because it helps. Then you'll fill in whatever the blank is that you're worried about. But let me be clear. I have pain in my family, those that I love, some here with us, and unfortunately, those that are not able to be here. They are facing pain and illness. We are dealing with life and its uncertainties and its struggles take 1,000 different forms, but I am open. There is hurting in our town. Our congregation is still not where we want it to be, and we are struggling. Our vision of ourselves is bigger and more ambitious than this few of us can sustain. There is the uncertainty of not knowing where we will be in a year, and the grief because we know we won't be going back to where we were before. But we are willing. There is panic in our nation because of the fear being spread by those in charge. The panic across our nation from not knowing whether institutions that we had previously had at least a small amount of trust that they would seek, if not to help us, at least work to protect themselves. Instead, they seem intent on making things worse for our families, in our jobs, in our community. The panic is coming from the vulnerable because some people think they can be targeted without reprisal. But to be hopeless would seem so strange. The wailing from around the world echoes our own struggles. It is undeniable that the forces of authoritarianism, racism, and nationalism are as powerful as ever. They seem to be holding more closely to that power through oppression and war. The wail from the hearts of the people in Kyiv and Gaza, from Kashmir and Moscow, from Kinshasa and Phnom Penh. They would be right to think that we have left them behind, that no one is listening. We have shut ourselves off because of all of this. We are hurting and we are afraid, and we know the world is difficult. But this is the beginning of our story, not the end. This is the first verse. And I am willing and I am open to the light of change. Unitarian Universalists pride ourselves on containing multitudes of beliefs. Yet, in my experience here at Live Oak, one consistent theme is the belief in this, the belief in the necessity of hope and the possibility and embrace of change. We believe that we can continue through hope. I was listening to an interview with Sarah McBride. She's a representative from Delaware and the first openly transgendered woman in Congress. She said, "I think in many ways that my journey into politics prepared me for this moment, because I think right now people across this country are wondering whether the heart of this nation is big enough to love them too. And similar to how I felt as a young person, we're facing a crisis of hope. So in many ways, my life has prepared me for this moment, because it's allowed me to understand where so many people are right now, feeling like you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, feeling like you're unsure whether our politics could ever work for you. But it has also left me fundamentally still hopeful, because I have been able to bear witness to change that once seemed so impossible to me as a kid. It was almost incomprehensible. Change has not only become possible, but has become a reality. She says we have a crisis of hope and responds, if I may, in so many words, I am open, and to be hopeless would seem so strange. So much that we have worked towards feels like it's been pulled out from under us, and work we were doing in our congregation and our communities was rejected in favor of a slogan, not hope for working towards a better future, but simply a fantasy of some imagined past. So you are not alone if you are feeling despair and dispirited or lost, maybe unwilling to move ahead. But to be hopeless may seem strange. What should we hope for? May our children see more clearly. May our elders be more wise. This is not about what we should consider the next small step should be. Instead, our hope begins with a dream that opens us out of despair, reminds us of our ambition and our vision, a world that respects the dignity of each person, a world of clarity, wisdom, compassion. Maybe our sense of hope, our little spark in the darkness, is fueled by big dreams. I was in a meeting with the graduate dean at the university, and we were talking about everything that we were facing. She said something like, "Nothing is the same as it was 6 months ago, but we continue persisting with irrational optimism because no one knows where we will be 6 months from now." So if we don't know where we are headed, then maybe the only road to take is to hope. And our second verse holds up the change that we are hoping for. May the winds of change caress us, even though it burns our eyes. Because we are not hoping to make Live Oak great again, to borrow a phrase. It should not be a longing to go back to the way it was. We dream of hope for our nation. We should have a dream of change for our town, our congregation, our families. We do not dream of remaking a community from 1985 or 2005. We shouldn't want to. We won't be able to. We are moving forward and we embrace a new future. We may have hurting in our family, but our children will see more clearly. The world we will build will be led by those who are more wise. The winds of hope and change will come to this place. They will not come out of a plan to get through one more year. We will hold on because of a dream. And that is a dream of what could be, a community built on love that leans on each other to support justice and peace. This is where our hope is produced. It is the inspiration we need to keep going. We see a world where we mend up the broken and lift up our neighbors. A community that proves that an interconnected world brings us together and makes us all better. Well, it's all well and good to talk about hope and dreams and joy and keeping on, but for Pete's sake, did you watch the news this morning? You may just think you don't have it in you. And so this is why I turn to the mountain solid meditation. This is a practice that my wife Jen uses whenever she finds herself in a difficult situation, waiting at the DMV, watching news of a wildfire, wondering if we need to evacuate, or just turning on CNN. We first need to find stability, physically, emotionally. And so we reach out to the mountain to anchor ourselves and ground our hope. The third verse of our song tells us to look for hope in exactly those places that have survived before, have outlasted previous trouble. Look to the ocean to contain our tears. Let the sunset bring us wonder. And now, okay, this is a little bit too on the nose for this morning, but a mighty oak can hold our fears. We can see that there is so much roiling inside us, and we need a stone to start from to give us support to stand up. Moving forward requires that starting point. The wonder of a sunset persists. It continues to lift us up and remind us that the world continues to spin. Maybe if we are feeling powerless, we can reach out to something more powerful. Hold out our hand to a mountain. When you get that bad news, the job loss or the diagnosis, we may feel we lose all of our hope. But then in sharing your story with maybe just one other person, you're able to create a connection. And if you are heard, then that creates a shared story, which builds a ground for hope. The hurt and panic seems manageable when it lives together with the ocean, when we connect to the roots of our mighty oak. And so I suggest that you look around and find your ocean, your sunsets, your mighty oaks. When things are going well, we feel like we can take credit. Look at the life that I have built. Look at the progress I have made happen. I voted for her and she won. Look what I did. And then we find ourselves on the other side of that swinging pendulum. All of our work has not changed the world. Things seem to be moving towards the worst. And where is the lever I can pull to make a change? How can I make a change? Here's the thing. That lever needs a fulcrum, a pivot point from which to pull. And that can be a mountain or an ocean, something to hold our fears and push us forward again. A grounding which tells us there is nothing but hope to be had, and our life would seem so strange and so empty without it. You can find that foundation in the ocean, which will hold your tears and not be a slight bit more salty. You may find it in a community of others that gives your life roots and purpose. It could be in the spirituality that, like a desert, contains mysteries of life and death and holds our fears. It could be in the wonder of a sunset. So in the end, we at Live Oak claim to be seeking truth and meaning. So is this true? Is our hope right? Will our dreams come true? Who knows? But what choice do we have but to be willing to place our bets on hope? There's no guarantee of success. This is not a battle plan or a political manifesto. We are simply asking if there can be hope. And as I look up at the sunrise and my heart fills with wonder, then maybe the light and hope blows through us. And to be hopeless would seem so strange. May it be so.